Yeah, man, I just want to say this. I don't think people realize how hard boxing and kickboxing is. It's extremely hard. And for somebody who just goes into a gym to hit a bag or they hit pads, there's more to it than that. There's range, there's foot placement, there's hand placement, there's all types of little things and nuances. That's why they always say you can't play boxing and you can't play kickboxing either. Otherwise, you get kicked in the head. One wrong move. So much props to the fighters for going in there, fighting, training hard. But one thing I want to say is we gotta stop this mindset of one punches and countering. If you're not at a Canelo level or a high level kickboxer level, the waiting and praying game and playing I like to call it the Shogun Rua, where you just cover it and hope your opponent gasses out, but you're getting punched in the face and you have that high guard. If you're not a Floyd Mayweather, where you can do that effectively and counter with the shoulder roll and all the little tricks that he does, I wouldn't advise it. One punch at a time, no combinations. And I don't blame the coaches. I think that certain fighters have a way of fighting and they feel like it's effective. You got to learn the basics with boxing. That's not something you can play around with. You can start going your own style and everything like that when you first get through the basics. And, we see this all the time. Just fighters, boxers, influencers. I won't say boxers. I'll call them influencers. They throw one punch combinations at a time. They cover up. Adrian Broner kind of fell into that category too. But he started to pick it back up. I mean, I get trying to pick your shots, but we got to get into more combinations, throwing more combinations. It's just, and it has to do with a lot of things, hitting bags, and we also have to get out of the mindset of sparring versus fighting. Those are two different things. Unless you're going really hard sparring, so there might be a method to the madness with hard sparring. I think there's a time and place for it, headgear, things like that. But you gotta find different bodies, fight different bodies, bring in new guys, you know what I'm saying, with different fighting styles, different boxing styles, so you can see them all and you know how to move, what lands, because what lands in sparring may not land in a fight. What's effective in sparring is not going to be effective in a fight of a different fighter of a different style. And also, I also want to put out there that, much props to Kamaru Usman, much props to Volkanovski for jumping in there on short notice to take on tough opponents. And I'm rooting for Volk, man. I am. I'm rooting for Volk. I'm rooting for Kamaru. And the problem that I have with this is the short notice fights. Cool, they're training constantly. They're working hard on different skills. It's not a fight camp. They're not training for anybody specific, but they're just, tuning up things, working on things, continuously conditioning their body and stuff like that. Out of season training. You're not cutting or doing any of that sort of stuff. So there's an advantage and disadvantage. And the disadvantage is what happens, what we see all the time. A lot of the middleweights that have moved up to light heavyweight, unfortunately, I think majority of the time is on short notice. It's like 3 months at a time. If your body is not conditioned, see, the mindset is for a lot of people that move up in weight is that they train at that weight. They fight at a heavier weight. So they should be better. And they train with people that are at that weight. But at the same time, we have to get out of the mindset of sparring and fighting. There's a power difference. There's a strength difference. Okay, Alex Pereira, he did his thing. He went up. He looked pretty massive. I don't know. He might be on that Glover Teixeira juice, because for whatever reason, he's still going at his age. Still strong, everything. So, but yeah, fighters that move up majority of the time are not successful early on. You have to fight at that weight consistently. Cutting weight to a different weight class, you're losing muscle mass. You're losing a lot of things. And Volk, I don't think he did it right last time. If he had the proper training camp, 100%, Volkanovski, I think, would win this one. But the problem is that it's on short notice. His walk around weight, he lost a lot of muscle mass for his last fight during the weight cut. And now he doesn't have the proper time to lift the weights, to eat the food, get the conditioning in, and move around at a heavier weight. I'm pretty sure he's at a heavy weight now, but I don't think he was doing the level of strength training and things like that at a heavier weight, eating lots of food. He was eating food, but it's not like the food that's meant to build more muscle mass, probably. I would assume. I don't know for sure, but I would guess. Another thing I want to say, we're going to move from the boxing thing. The KSI win against Tommy Fury, probably, if anything, if it went how the last round was going, where KSI was slipping all of Tommy Fury's jabs and getting under it, and if they're counting body shots in the clinch, which I think is kind of weird because it's boxing. So if we're going to count clinch punches, well, we might as well just count takedowns and everything else included with it. Unfortunately, I guess the small clinch positions are a part of boxing. But like I said, I only seen the last round. And it looked like KSI was slipping a lot of Tommy Fury's punches and jabs. So if it went anything like that round, he probably won the fight, including with the point deduction. But yeah, I mentioned the whole point of the one-punch combinations because we see... Just watch the boxing card. Just watch the box. Salt Poppy is one of them. He likes to throw one punch, counter, look for his shots, and stop swinging big. Stop swinging big. Dylan Dennis did it too in their fight. They got to get this more sparring, different training partners, less hitting the bag and hitting mitts, because I don't think that's developing their skill set without the head movement included with it. So, it could be the coach. It could not be the coach. But you got to learn how to move your feet and head at the same time. And a perfect example of that is Bobby Green. Bobby Green is the perfect example of the ability to move your feet and your head and throw punches at the same time. In and out. Perfect example. And you see how he's doing. He's knocking everybody out for the most part. He's piecing everybody up for the most part. But yeah, let's move on to the MMA world of... Volk. Can he do it this time? Like I said, I'm rooting for him. What I was going to say? I was going to say that not short notice fights. I already said that. But yeah, back to MMA. There's only a few fighters that can really bulk up in a short amount of time. And I think that's the way to go. Especially for heavyweight, John Jones did the right thing. He didn't just move up expecting his skill set to win fights against bigger opponents. He did the right thing, weightlifting and everything else. He knew that he had a tough task ahead of him, and he did it the right way. He ate. He did everything. So, Volk was capable of eating and lifting weights as well. Styles makes fights. Styles makes fights at the end of the day. Shorter opponents are hard to hit, as we've seen. They can throw overhands. They can, get under you to get takedowns. So, yeah, shorter fighters are tough. We see it. We see it a lot. But the reason why I think a lot of these MMA fighters are losing these boxing matches, outside of the fact that I think people like Logan Paul and a few people are cheating. I would assume so. I don't know their program. I don't know what they test for on these programs. Maybe I need to research that a little bit. But I'm pretty sure there's some level of performance-enhancing drugs somewhere there. But I'm just guessing. But these MMA fighters are not training just boxing. Francis Ngannou is doing the perfect thing. I don't know if he's actually just training boxing or he's doing mixed martial arts, but this is what you should be doing. Pure boxing. Dylan Dennis was probably doing jiu-jitsu, as we've seen in another post. He was like drinking out the night before, probably a built-in excuse. And despite all the things that he did up to the build-up of the fight, which is cool and everything, but I'd rather win the fight. I don't care about winning a social media battle. The fight is the most important thing. I don't care about the talking, as we see all the time. The person that talks the most outside of Conor McGregor and a few other people is usually the one that loses. Too much talking, too much antics, not focused. For the most part, we usually see that. If you're able to win, you might be a superstar if you're able to talk shit and win. But he's probably training jiu-jitsu, training mixed martial arts. That's not the sport you're training for. That's not the sport you need to be focused on. Train boxing. Can't play boxing. Continuously try to train boxing. Let go of the jiu-jitsu. Let go of all the other things that's included in it and focus on boxing. If any of these MMA guys can just focus on boxing without trying to wrestle and do jiu-jitsu and and grapple and all this other stuff. They might have a level of success. Tyron Woodley did pretty decent, and I think he just focused on boxing. But man, I have no idea. Short notice fights, man. It's a bad thing on both parts, and not let's not act like there's an advantage on either side, because we could see it go either way. Kamaru Usman, we could assume he's just getting off the couch, and he has there's no baggage, there's no anything, not a hard tough training camp where his body's all sore. He can just go in there and work freely. Unfortunately for Chimaev, he's been training hard for a specific opponent, a specific style, and now he has to change his mindset on short notice to fight a completely different fighter. That fucks up your mind sometimes. So big props to all of them involved in it. I don't think there's any advantage or disadvantage to any of it. We see short notice fighters win fights all the time, and it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. But yeah, we'll see how everything plays out.